5, which is an update on the Shapley Heath audit review, which I think, Isabel, you're going to...
Yes,
lead.
yeah.
Thank you.
So most of you will remember that we had the Shapley Heath audit review, and I prepared a management action plan from sort of the business side of things to make sure that we looked at other projects within the organisation and make sure we were following the appropriate protocol, the appropriate steps for all of the other projects that were in our remit. So this is just a really short verbal update, just to tell you that as at the 31st of October, the time frame actually asked that I would pull together the project requirements and start looking at those project requirements and aligning those to the projects that are actually in delivery format at the moment. So my first slide is the project requirements, and these are the key 5 project requirements that are needed by all of projects from November 2021. Any project that goes through the Hart process needs an elevator pitch, a PID, IIA, a risk register, and finance and budget management update. So those are all the documentation.
What do you mean by IIA?
Do you know what? I knew someone was going to ask me that, and I'm going to any. I feel like it's project.
You must know what it does.
Yeah, it's a probably the next stage project initiation document, and then probably the more detailed scoping of a project. But I will make sure that we get that answer in the.
Those who don't know, perhaps you'll explain what the elevator pitch is, because I know exactly what it is, but you should explain it so everybody else.
The elevator pitch is your initial business case, which you take to the project board, which explains exactly what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, and what the benefits of whatever project you're doing will be to the organisation. So it's a starting point. It's a kick-off before you do a project initiation document.
Probably what I understand as an elevator pitch, but a project plan is probably what better description of it.
Okay, thank you. So I started to look at all of the documentation, and obviously this documentation would have been for the projects from November 21, because this was when the policy was implemented. So this isn't the finished outturn, this isn't the finished outcome of that management review. This is my progress to date. And quite simply, there are, at the moment, there are a few gaps, but I haven't had that second trawl. I haven't spoken directly to members of those project teams, and I haven't sort of finalised any of that investigation. But just to let you know that I've taken that policy document and pulled those projects and checked that those projects have got that documentation that's required from our project policy. So the final version of the update will be presented to Audit Committee in March next year. And so in the meantime, the next steps that I'm suggesting, as you all know, this is my last week working with Hart, so I'll be handing over to Graham Clark, who's sitting in the public gallery at the moment. And the steps that will need to be undertaken over the next few months will be to review all of those perceived gaps, because we don't know that they're actual gaps at the moment. They're just my perception of where there might be gaps. I would like the value of each of the projects considered, because I think some of those projects are probably too small to, there might just be parts of projects. So there might well be a document for the bigger part of the project and not the smaller segments of that project. Investigate the issues arising. So investigate anything that, if there's not that documentation, if there's not that information behind the project, why has that happened? Why has that not been provided? And then consider the pattern of non-compliance, because it might be that certain areas are not using that project documentation in the right way. So we need to find out where those areas might be, and then manage on a solution-based approach. So it might be that we look at what the value of any of those projects are, we see where the gaps are, and we take obviously corrective action to make sure that those projects have that correct documentation and are managed going forward in the correct way.
Right, Councillor Southern.